Now, President and CEO of BVI Airways, Jerry Willoughby, has welcomed the partnership agreement between his company and the Virgin Islands government to provide direct air access between BVI and Miami later this year. Willoughby told JTV News that a market analysis carried out by BVI Airways confirms that the Miami BVI route is viable. Willoughby said time travel is just 2.5 hours one way at competitive rates when compared to some existing routes.
The islands, nations that have instituted direct service, particularly to North America, almost instantaneously their markets increase from anywhere from 45 to 135%. And we are convinced with the current tourism and financial services market that are here, we can improve on those numbers, or certainly match those numbers. As the people that love to come to the BVI, it's now going to be a lot easier to get here, a lot less painful. And we'll work to make that as enjoyable as first class premium service as possible. And we're looking forward to having that in place by this coming fall.
And I can relate to that because, for one, most persons going to Miami often go through the St. Thomas route.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to overnight,
right,
and so forth. What about the cost effectiveness of this 2.5 hour flight between BVI and Miami?
I think what you're going to find, first off, will be very, very competitive. I think you're going to find that the single flight direct service nonstop will be actually cheaper than any place that you would have to connect, whether it be St. Martin's or St. Thomas or certainly San Juan. And I gave the example myself coming from the West Coast. You know, I only had to, it takes me 2 days. I have to spend the night in San Juan to get here and then come on over the following day. We'll be able to do that all in one day. So when you look at the total costs of coming from somewhere in North America or South America for that matter to get to the BVI, at the end of the day, the amount of money coming out of your checkbook is going to be a lot less.
Premier Smith also illustrated the importance of air access to further economic growth in the BVI. During an interview with JTV News' Sean Rose, the Premier alluded to other steps his government intends to pursue to help boost the local economy.
We all recognize that the economy of this country depends on two major sectors at the moment, that is financial services and tourism. We also recognize that we have to continue to improve what we do if we're going to continue to provide for the people of the territory. While we are doing that, of course, we have to also be looking at other areas, expanding the economy into other areas. That's why we did a McKinsey report, for example, so we can broaden and deepen what we do in financial services. We have to look at other areas like fishing, agriculture. Many things we really have to look at to really broaden that area so that we do not have to just depend on two areas alone. That is something I think we have to be very conscious of.
And Minister, Premier, $7 million investment invested in the BVI Airways, BVI government arrangement, direct flights from BVI to Miami. Some may say this is significant.
There's a revenue sharing agreement, and we expect to have this to recoup our investment. The airline has to do what they have to do to be part of the marketing. They have to get all the necessary arrangements in place for interline agreements, to be able to satisfy ASI that they're, fit and ready to fly. They have to do all those things as well as some marketing. BVI government, of course, we are interested, extremely interested, and therefore we have already begun and will continue our marketing efforts. We see this flight between here and Miami as a kind of a gateway to other destinations, whether it's to Europe, whether it's to Asia, whether it's to Latin America. We see this as a gateway to that. Eventually, as we continue to expand our air access, by expanding airport, for example, it'll become even easier than we have, done now, and even what we're doing here. But this is an important first step.
What about airports such as the Anegada Airport and the Virgin Gorda Airport in terms of development? I get the impression that based on the last Lobster Fest in Anegada, that where over 60 flights landed, I'm told that there is room for even further development there.
The Anegada is one of the important islands in the Virgin Islands and an important destination. I expect to become even more important in the future. As a result of which, of course, there will be a demand for more entry to that island, and I'm sure a demand for looking at what needs to be done with that airport there.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the BVI Tourist Board, Russell Harrigan, says direct flights between BVI and Miami offer many benefits for the territory.
There are new markets that we have not been able to even think about because we don't have that capacity. Asia, for example.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago, the Premier made it clear he wants to see that market looked after and begin to plant some seeds. So this gives us the wherewithal to begin a serious discussion with operators in those spaces.
Have you seen the growth that the Premier had expected, though? Have you seen that growth as yet?
Absolutely. I think we achieved at least 9.5% in overnight business. Now the cruise side is beginning to grow to now that the facility has been completed. So without a doubt, and I know he has a new order to issue shortly.
So we can expect more news in the very near future.
Yes, we have to. If you're in the game, you have to act like you're in the game, and there's no other way to do it. It's not about me or, if I can say, the Premier. It's about the quality of life that the citizenry has become accustomed to, and it's the responsibility of us as a tourist board, and by extension the government, to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that our kids today and those to come will have a future that is hopefully much better than the one we have today.
You focused on getting the visitors here. What about us welcoming and giving them that unique visitor experience when they get here? What's your take on what's happening locally?
There is, and that's a very good question, and because that is an area that continues to be one where work needs to be done. Not that we have not been doing work in it, but it's an ongoing thing. It's not a situation, it's never static.
Right.
It's dynamic. As it relates to, for example, the cruise side, there's a lot of things we have planned, and this year we intend to begin to see some of them happening. The Premier has spoken consistently about areas such as the historical sites, incorporating those into our tourism. Further work around Road Town in terms of the museums and what have you, on some of our sister islands, Josephine Lake and Anegada. I think we as a board have, over the last 4 years, staffed up ourselves in a way that we are quite able and capable of meeting the demands. It's not going to happen all overnight, but we have to be, one, committed, care about the destination, and be serious about it.
BVI Airways Miami BVI operations would begin after regulatory approval from the UK and US aviation authorities.